Shares of both Alphabet and Microsoft are lower this morning. The tech giants managed to beat Wall Street expectations, but ad sales at Google came in just a little light, while Microsoft's revenue forecast for its current quarter wasn't strong enough for analysts. And there you're seeing Alphabet in the early trade off by almost 6%, Microsoft down by 1.5%. Joining us now to discuss more, Paul Meeks, veteran tech investor and finance professor at the Citadel. You know, Dan Ives, the analyst, was on, notoriously bullish, but he was on last call with me last night, Paul, and he said for Microsoft, this was one that should be printed up and hung in the Louvre. He thought it was outstanding and that there's a lot of naysaying going on. What's your take?
So with Microsoft, out of the three tech majors, right, including Alphabet and AMD that reported last night, I thought Microsoft was pretty clean, both with the report and the guidance. You know, I'm always looking at Azure, and actually the year-to-year growth rate there picked up a little bit, and the forecast for the next quarter from the company at about the same rate. The only thing that really disappointed me with Microsoft is they need to quantify the Copilot ramp, and they chose not to. Disappointment to me. And Satya Nadella, the CEO, gave some use cases, which is pretty cool. It's probably going to appease the street for a while, but we need to see in black and white some real uptake in calendar 24 in Copilot. And they just didn't talk about it, unfortunately.
Well, Azure had actually 30% growth. You note that some of that was from a currency benefit, but 6 points from artificial intelligence alone, which gives you a real use case scenario. What about Google? I mean, we're seeing the shares off in the extended trade by quite a lot. What's your prediction for how this goes today, and how much ad revenue is really the bear that is in Alphabet's way?
Yeah, with Alphabet, I actually wasn't so down on it as the market action shows this morning, down 6 pre-open. Yes, digital advertising, what they call on their P&L Google Networks, was a little bit soft, but it wasn't material. And the way I would play this stock, I think out of all the majors that reported last night, this is your buying opportunity, right? The stock's going to open up at 142-ish. I think if we find a successful test of 50-day moving average support at 139, this one becomes a better buy.
Yeah, Dan, Paul, it's worth noting that not only did these stocks run into the print when they're declining after hours or before the market opens today, they're really not going back that far in time. The Nasdaq 100 was basically at the pre-market levels a week ago. Microsoft has backed off to that $3 trillion threshold of market cap, and Alphabet even is back a couple of weeks, similar to AMD. So I guess the question is, was there anything, let's say, about the investment and CapEx plans that were detailed by Alphabet and to a lesser degree Microsoft that changes the longer-term view of the paybacks on a lot of the AI initiatives?
Well, that's the absolute key, and you raised a fantastic point. Yes, that will continue to spend a lot of money, particularly training these large language models. Everybody thought 24 was going to be the year in which we shift into seeing actual AI-driven software apps. I think 24 is much less like 23. We continue to train large language models. And of course, who's the greatest beneficiary? We know it all. It's NVIDIA. But I would say, that their CapEx plan that you mentioned proves that out. It's going to be expensive. And AI is going to be the reign of the big boys because they can actually spend the billions on R&D as necessary. And if they can't innovate internally, they have the balance sheets that'll be able to do some mergers and acquisitions. And so we'll see the take-up of some of these products. I think it's a next year thing. And the test, the absolute test, not just for Microsoft, but for the entire AI cohort is Copilot going to be a good product? And is it going to be a profitable product? That'll be the ultimate tell, not just for Microsoft, but for a whole lot of folks in this pool.
Paul, can you weigh in on the implications of the judge's decision in Delaware on Elon Musk's compensation?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And that didn't bother me so much, right? Because that was a board decision from years ago. And you're absolutely right in the setup for this segment that, yes, the board made that call when it looked like it was no chance that that would ever happen. However, Michael's absolutely right. This is a very rare compensation structure. And what bothers me more than that is his insistence on getting more shares because he says he doesn't feel comfortable that he can control the company. Well, he's already the world's wealthiest person. And does anybody think when you read the news day in and day out at Tesla, he doesn't have already absolute control? He doesn't need any more voting control. So it's just a mark of selfishness. And I think Tesla is actually in some trouble, not just for that reasons, but some real fundamental weakness. And I think that this stock goes from 186 over the next weeks or months down to 160. That'll be a test. And if it doesn't hold 160 support, I think it's going all the way back down to 100.